Good day everyone. So this video is a follow-up to the last video I posted on zeroing, that is the reported execution of lower ranked Russian soldiers on the command of their superiors as a consequence of their refusal to follow orders. So I made that video after I read a BBC News report. So after I made the post, I actually went back and watched the video made by the whistleblower, and I'll say what I saw is quite compelling, so I'm more convinced that their claims are actually true. Now, in addition to the murders, they also reported other atrocities committed by Russian officers, including extortion, fabrication of reports, and other very serious malpractices. So do I believe that Russian officers actually sanctioned those murders? I'll say yes, because I found the video interviews, more compelling than the news reports. That is why initially I had my doubts, but when I saw the actual footage of the interviews of the whistleblowers, I was more convinced because I could see their demeanor, I could see the demeanor of the eyewitnesses, and I found what they said very believable. So if those reports are true, which they appear to be, then high-ranked Russian military officials are committing serious war crimes and crimes against humanity in the course of the Russian-Ukraine armed conflict. Nonetheless, that still verifies the claim I made in the last video, that corruption is a matter of opportunism. And one of the disadvantages of war is that it creates an enabling environment for acts of abuse of power and criminality that can easily be covered up in the midst of the chaos. So when there is war, there is chaos, and where there is chaos, there is probably crime. Now, it's noteworthy to state that the accusations and crimes are not limited to Russia. It also happens in regard to the Ukrainian government, and I'll give one example. For example, in Ukraine, Gonzalo Lira, who was a journalist from Chile, was imprisoned in Ukraine under a factitious charge of spreading Russian propaganda, was tortured and extorted while in custody, and he didn't make it. He eventually lost his life in the Sopar medical facility where they kept him. This is a fact, this is a reality that during the first year of the Russian-Ukraine armed conflict, when he was making reports of what was going on in the country while he was still in Ukraine. In addition to that, there are also reports of child trafficking orchestrated by elites who use the conflict as a cover for executing these illegal abductions. So to verify that claim, I'm referring to a report, an interview which was made by a British ex-parliamentarian called Andrew Bridgen. The interview was recorded by Lighthouse TV, and it exposed high levels of corruption perpetrated by political elites. That is an interview that is available on YouTube. So I advise you all to watch that interview by Andrew Bridgen, that is the ex-British parliamentarian, because it corroborates a lot of claims I made in the last video, exposing high levels of corruption perpetrated by political elites, including those perpetrated during the course of this Russia and Ukraine armed conflict. So the video is available on YouTube, and I'm recommending you all to watch that interview, the interview by Andrew Bridgen. So that's all for now. Thanks, and I guess I'll end this with a quote. So the quote for today is, "Peace is priceless." Thanks for watching. You all have a nice day.